welcome to Small Business Evolution. I'm your host, Nontobeko Kumete. Now this week, we're unpacking the role of fintech solutions in promoting financial inclusion and breaking down barriers for township entrepreneurs with the founder and CEO of ZAKHAA FlexiPay, Teboho Twala. Teboho, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You have a lot of accolades and a lot of gadgets and devices here for us, and you won the title of Most Disruptive Fintech in Shaping the Informal Economy. That's amazing. Can you please just share what question or what challenge were you trying to address in creating this company?
Look, this comes from my young age, where I realized that a lot of things that happened when I was still young. I used to help my grandmother, who was an entrepreneur in her own right, and she used to sell during the SASA grants. There's a story that I tell every time because she's my inspiration. And I realized that in that market that she was serving, a lot of people used to take goods on deferred payments, and she relied on her memory to remember who took goods and who still had to pay her and that sort of stuff. And all the payments were done in cash. And I realized that small businesses today still suffer the same thing, where they would give goods on deferred payments, and you would find that they end up not being able to recover that money. And that's how Zaka was practically born. Of course, then with it being born, then it's able to process your normal card payments for that particular market, and able to process deferred payments. And of course, after you build a solution, it starts having many ways to be used. So that's practically what happened with Zaka, and that's how we were awarded the award by ABSA and Visa.
I like that you touched on, our slow movement towards digital transition,
yes,
our transformation rather, and that cash is still king.
Yes.
But it seems like it's a lot of infrastructural challenges and a lot of red tape and regulatory challenges as well. And when you look at the South African Reserve Bank, for example, and how they're exploring these regulatory changes within the digital space, can you just touch on that? How is Zaka aligning itself with these various changes?
Yes, you see, the Reserve Bank actually is at the forefront of driving solutions, particularly to address financial inclusivity of the informal economy. And they have come up with other ideas, and I think they appreciate solutions such as Zaka, because the Reserve Bank aims to move away from cash. But remember, if you move away from cash, you're not only achieving the more safer part of trading, but also you're achieving what we call financial and economic inclusivity. Because if you take, for instance, businesses in the township environment, they also need funding or lending to scale, or also to remain sustainable. And we call them cornerstones of our economy, in a sense that they are the future in terms of creating jobs. Now, how do they create jobs if they don't have access to lending? Access to lending you can only be able to get provided you have records of your transactions. And now fintechs like Zaka are solving that problem to say, look, let's digitize your payments as a small business so that the banks and other lenders can actually see your transaction volumes and be able to lend you money at the back of that. So that's practically precisely what we want to achieve with what we're doing.
I'm sure breaking down those barriers of trust factor,
yes,
it can be challenging. Can you just touch on that even more, especially with the services that Zaka offers to its clientele with the deferred payment options?
Yes. The biggest challenges is, first it started with us recognizing that the small businesses are not necessarily offering credit. It's just a matter of deferred payment. But then how do you formalize that agreement to ensure that at least the small business is also protected? They have some form of formal agreement with this person. So all that can happen in one machine, where merchants and, for instance, you've got beautiful hair, and
Thank you.
Somebody is selling hair, for instance, in a township, and somebody comes there, wants to buy hair for 3,000 rands. They can maybe, at that point in time, they only have 1,000 rand to swipe, and then another 2,000 they say they can pay it over a period of time or by month end. And we know month end comes, they never actually pay wittingly or unwittingly. So now we say, let's solve that. Let's enter into a purchase sale agreement where you defer part of the payment, and come month end, we debit you for maybe 4 months, instead of you having to pay the whole amount at once, because that could be challenging depending on your financial situation at that point in time, because there's many things that can happen between today and month end, that will prevent a customer from paying this small business. Now, if you remember, the small businesses have challenges, especially with technology. Because it's something that people still try and get used to it. But we've been very privileged because in South Africa, for instance, you've got over 90% of adoption of cell phones. And these are smart cell phones. By virtue of that, it gravitates towards acceptance of smart payment devices, because people are already used to some form of technology in terms of mobile technology and that sort of stuff. So we've seen adoption of mobile payments really increasing, particularly when small businesses realize the benefits that come with that. One, you've moved away from just using only cash. Two, you can secure a sale and part of that deferred payment by knowing that there's an existing agreement, and ZAKHAA FlexiPay services will be able to debit the money from the customer for you. It increases your cash flow, which is something that small businesses suffer from. And three, you know that at least you are part of you are included in as part of financial inclusivity, because now all of a sudden you have credible records which you can show to the bank or any financial lenders to say, look, I am able to trade for so much per month. I need so much money to be able to increase my stock and that sort of stuff.
You know what, it's really insightful and empowering just seeing this new wave of fintech startups just breaking down those barriers and offering that support to South African entrepreneurs. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks.
That was Teboho Twala, founder and CEO of ZAKHAA FlexiPay, sharing his outlook on fintech solutions in South Africa and how they are paving the way for financial access and opportunities for township entrepreneurs.